Hello, and welcome back to WGBH's Drama After Dark, where tonight we're talking about Call the Midwife, Season 9, Episode 7. Yes,
Woo!
Episode 7. Took me a second.
You're doing good. You're doing good. Fully quarantined.
We're all losing our minds here. I am Jackie Bruleigh, joined as always by the lovely Andrea Wolanin.
Thank you. Thank you.
How you doing, Andrea? How's life treating you right now?
You know, pretty good. Sorry, I was trying to stop. I was trying to figure out if I could say our usual rejoinder to that, but I don't know if Biggie Smalls is copyright. So.
Yep, it's probably better that we just avoid it. But for those of you out in the world who know Biggie, you'd know what we would be saying here. Well, I'm sort of in that boat too. But you know what's going to make me feel a little bit better?
What?
Hearing your delightful recap of this episode.
Oh boy. We will see if I can do it. As our devoted fans know, I have failed the last 2 times. So this is the chance for me to get out of the hole I've put myself in, so that I don't get the full HORS by the end of this season.
It's true, but you know what? I think it's one of those how the mighty must fall situations where you were ahead so successfully for so long that we needed me to try and catch up.
It's a little bit of hubris. It's a little bit of Icarus. What are you going to do?
I don't know, but I believe in you. I think you got this tonight.
Thank you. Let's see.
Are you ready?
Let's find out.
And go!
The incubator is here thanks to the Turners borrowing from the bank of May and Angela. Meanwhile, a lovely young blind woman, Marion, is coming in for her first antenatal visit. We see that motherhood won't be an easy road for her. Not only is her handicap going to make it tricky, but it seems like her sister is a stumbling block as well. Never fear, Trixie is here. Elsewhere, we see baby doctors a bit of a hang-up, namely, a dame named Pethidine. This hurts a young mother named Devon, causing a bad labor. But Frances to the rescue. Finally, something is wrong with Val's grandma.
All right, I'm gonna call that a success. I think you got it in just under the wire.
I looked up and I was like, no!
Well, I think you nailed it this week. Those were definitely all the highlights, but let's talk about a few of our favorite moments from this episode.
Yes. There were so many good moments in this episode, even though there were so many dark moments and sad moments. There were also some really great, sweet moments and some really great, uplifting moments. And I know that you had a couple of both, didn't you?
I sure did. I think my first, I think I would call this uplifting. At the end of the episode, Marion, who you mentioned in the recap, is a lovely young lady who's blind, and by this point, her baby has been delivered. And the whole family, her husband, her sort of mean sister Beryl, and Trixie all traipse across town to visit a mom who is blind, has 3 kids already, and has tied bells to the kids' ankles so that she knows where they are, which is just ingenious and also super cute.
I mean, to be honest, I would probably do that, and I am not that blind. But those things get away from you pretty fast. So, I think that the rather than putting weights around their ankles, as we've seen in some memes, bells would probably be far preferable.
Well, if you put weights on them, you're going to end up with super babies.
Super babies. It's true. It's true. That actually reminds me of our other mother this episode. Not the other mother, but another mother, Yvonne, who has a horrible time, not just with the folks at Nonatus, but also life in general. Yeah. She has this awful drunk husband who's not really what one would call a happy drunk. He is a terrible alcoholic who's actually quite nasty to her and very resentful of everybody, it seems. But one of the things that I found very uplifting about this episode is in the end, she actually finds the courage to go live with her aunt, I believe, which was just a very nice moment to see her being able to make that escape and to make that new life for herself, especially because, she has such a crappy one for so much of a time. And now she has this new baby and this opportunity, and we can only hope that her life is just onward and upward from there.
Yeah, that moment really got me too. It was so nice to see her get away because that guy sucked. And I loved that, actually, like, I talk about this as directly, but I thought the episode did such a nice job of addressing how scary this man was without us having to actually see it.
Yes.
It's all in her reactions,
Yes.
and her fear of what's going to happen when she's discharged and doesn't have, like, baby doctor or Dr. Turner there to defend her, which
Absolutely.
she did a great job. This actress was great.
Yeah.
Speaking of great actresses, another favorite moment we had was Phyllis, who really milked the "I'm so tired, I've had such a long day."
I know, I was genuinely concerned for that witch for the first half of the episode. I was like, oh no, Phyllis is ailing, whatever will happen? And then at the end, she's like, oh, lovely, you'll join? Fabulous, I feel fantastic now.
It was very tricky of her.
I agree. It was a nice little moment of Phyllis deviousness. Not to belabor the point, but to go back to Yvonne for a second. So much of her storyline in this was tied in with Baby Doctor's storyline and his addiction that we're now learning about to pethidine. So one of the things that I really liked is after that really horrible birth scene where Sister Frances walks in the room and is like, why did you give her an episiotomy? She doesn't seem to need an episiotomy. And the mother's like, why is he cutting me open?
Well, and his face is even like, oh no, I made a huge mistake.
I know.
Like, fully just like panic stricken, covered in blood. Oh, that's
it was
gonna give
awful.
me nightmares.
It was that felt like a horror movie moment. Honestly, you know I love horror movies, and that was one of those where that happened, and I was like, I'm sorry, did Call the Midwife just take this left turn?
Between that and the broken glass, they kind of did tonight. This was an intense episode for blood.
It was like Saw Call the Midwife edition. But one of the things that I obviously did not like, that was not a favorite moment for me, but what I did like was that it prompted Sister Frances. In previous weeks, we've talked about how shy and retiring she is, but this is the first time we really see her stand up and be like, you messed up. You need to get your business together. You need to, as a favorite character says, you need to get your house in order. So it was nice to see that here, that she has that backbone and she's willing to stand up to, a man who's in charge of technically her job in this time. And she's ready to do it for the women she takes care of. So it was really inspiring and happy for me to see that she has that aspect to her.
Totally. And not even just someone who's kind of in charge of her, but also her friend. We see this episode, they're really developing a really cute friendship.
They are.
Which makes it so much harder to have to say to someone like, hey, dude, like, I like you a lot, but you really screwed up tonight.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing too is like they're friendly coworkers. And as you and I know, it's like extra hard when somebody's a coworker and your friend and you're like, hey, maybe don't do that. I mean, I just want you to know that should you ever become addicted to pethidine and mess up while we're helping a woman deliver a baby, I will tell you.
I'll have a lot of questions if it gets to the point where you and I have to deliver someone's baby together. I mean, I think we'll do pretty good because we watched Call the Midwife, but
yes, that's when we know the quarantine has gone in the wrong direction.
Now, speaking of Sister Frances, that's actually a perfect segue because while those were our favorite moments, we want to know about your favorite moments out there in internet land. Specifically, we'd like you to weigh in on whether you think Sister Frances should have told Dr. Turner about what was happening with Baby Doctor. She hasn't yet. She's just told him he needs to behave a little bit better, but no one has actually told his boss. And you'll see why we want to talk about that in a little bit. But first, I'm going to go ahead and check the social phone and see what Zach has for us here.
I'd love to hear if the fans have any favorite moments that they've chipped in with.
Let's see. That's my song for you.
It's beautiful.
Sort of on this topic, we have on Twitter at HeathFeeth45, great Twitter name. Of course, the nun has to take over. Yes, a million times, yes. We've also got some Trixie appreciation from at SkateFan78. Trixie, midwife / fashion plate / burgeoning world traveling fashion designer, still waiting for that angle, / addiction advocate / mentor for the blind. Is there anything she can't do?
Yes, it's true. Trixie should run for PM in this time period, to be honest.
Oh my God, a Trixie Violet Buckle ticket?
Trixie Violet Buckle 2020.
I would vote for them.
Yeah, I know.
And then we've got a great tweet. Oh, from Sarah over on Twitter. Sarah follows us on Facebook. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
She's at sbram94, who says, "So happy that blindness is being featured on tonight's Call the Midwife. Representation matters." Completely agree. This was really cool, and I think it's one of the first episodes we've had with someone who had some kind of like. Is this the first disability?
No, I think we've had other disability episodes of Call the Midwife. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I feel that they've done a pretty good job with representation. I mean, in certain ways. We had we had a few in there that I believe also helped with representation. But I agree that I found this episode particularly interesting because I don't think that's something I thought about, is how difficult it would be to not be able to see your kids.
Yes, so, I mean, just the logistical stuff alone that they addressed in that last like little scene that we talked about earlier blew my mind. I thought it was fascinating, and I hope that we get more of that.
Definitely,
as the show goes on. Yeah. Sarah says hi back on Facebook. Hey, Sarah. Yeah. So keep those coming. We want to know all your favorite moments. We want to know what you think about what we're going to talk about next. You can do that on the Twitter poll, by the way, if I didn't say it earlier. Just hop on over there and you can vote right underneath the video. And yeah, we are going to check back on the social phone throughout the night. But first, Andrea, are you prepared for what's happening next?
If that would be the hot take debate, yes, I am, ma'am.
It is! Hot take debate! Yay!
Who would have guessed?
I mean, certainly not me with my note cards. Definitely.
I know, it's like I know the show that I'm on. It's crazy.
Well,
it's the first time for everything, I guess.
We always follow the motto of the Cubs. See what I did there? Be prepared! Anyway, so for tonight, our hot take debate is, of course, should Sister Frances tell Dr. Turner what's going on with Baby Doctor, or as he's actually named, Dr. McNulty? But who needs a real name when we have Baby Doctor?
I've been wondering this whole time.
Yeah. Or should we just sort of, let things take their course naturally? And I think we are both prepared to argue either side on this one. But do you have a strong preference either way?
I mean, you can go. You go first.
I'll go first. Okay. I will argue that she should not tell Dr. Turner.
Okay.
This is going to be a little more challenging, but I'm ready for it. Okay. Here's why she shouldn't tell Dr. Turner. This is a time when stuff like this can completely scupper a career. We are also living in that time now, and probably it should. But he's like a young guy, and I think everyone's entitled to one or two mistakes. Everything turned out okay in the end. Yvonne is healthy, baby is healthy, and most importantly, out of all of that, because we shouldn't just let stuff like this slide, he clearly knows that he really screwed up. He feels horrible, and is just like completely horrified by what happened. I think if she had come back in and he's happily episiotomying away and like doesn't seem to think this is a problem at all, I would be less inclined to think that he would fix it and make it better. Also, important note, she doesn't know about the drug addiction. So from her perspective, he just did like one kind of dumb maneuver in the middle of a birth. Like we know watching the show that he did it because he was like in DTs and needed to go get a fix and was having trouble, and that's why he rushed the labor. Like to her, he just made kind of an oopsie, not a good oopsie, but a little oopsie, and he will fix it later on. So from that perspective, I say, let it be a learning experience, and if it happens again, then you tell. From our perspective, knowing about the drugs, I have a different take, but I will let you argue that.
Okay. So, so many things here. And I agree. I think we both thought this is a really tricky one to debate on either side because there's so many angles to this and there's so many conflicting emotions. And to your point, you know, from Francis's perspective, he is, you know, a young doctor who's just starting out, who's learning, who thought something that she, you know, he may have been taught that and she doesn't know that. Mm-hmm. So she might just think he's learned, he'll do better next time, he'll ask before, he's clearly scared. However, I'm just going to say that if I'm in labor and some doctor's like, you know what, let's just go for the episiotomy. No questions, no thought, no consulting, no, you know, second opinion, and just goes in for it. That's not what I want in a doctor. And I would do everything in my power to make sure that he had to go back for retraining or that his supervisor knew and that they were like, okay, clearly he's not ready to fly on his own yet. He needs, because that's the main issue that I see here is that Dr. Turner's like, he's doing great. I'm ready to let the kid do his thing. And to the point where Sister Francis is like, I can leave the room and he's not going to mess up. And that's not true by any sense, as we saw. And no matter how scared they are, I feel like my opinion would be that I would have to say, okay, you're clearly not ready for this, you know? And it's one of those things where even if you're waiting tables, which is something I've done, which is tricky, it's hard, but it's so much more basic than having to be responsible for another human life. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could make the argument about peanut allergies, but you're not there with scissors actually cutting people. And I think that, but I think even then, if you've gone through extensive training at whatever company you're at and you go out on the floor and you serve somebody, you know, something with peanut sauce because you don't consult the kitchen and you don't check for allergies, they're going to take you back to training.
Yes.
So why wouldn't you want that done with a doctor? So I think somebody needs to know, and he needs to have more supervision, which in turn would, I think, take care of his drug addiction, or at least the awareness of his drug addiction.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. The supervision thing.
Yeah.
Certainly bears thinking about. Well done. This is such an intense plot line because there's just so much information. It's so bad. You can tell we're like barreling towards something bad happening.
I know. And I think also especially like after what we talked about last week with Ananda, we had a little technical error last week. So if you missed some of our conversation with Ananda, I think there's 2 parts up online right now that you can go look at to watch. But one of the things that she talked about so much is that this is the era where we're starting to slide downhill from understanding that women are the ones who understand labor into a more paternalistic sense of what is right and wrong and not asking for consent during parts of labor. And that's really what I saw here. Because one of the things that we see all the time now in labor is people being like, I'm not ready to have my water manually broken, or I don't want an episiotomy. And then it happens, even though you don't want it. So I think that's one of the things that really struck me about this.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Mm-hmm. It was such a great choice from the show because it's also such a visceral thing. Like we can really see exactly how. Yeah.
This was up there with the. Yeah, this was up there with the you have a fistula moment from earlier this season.
This has been a pretty messy season.
Yeah. They're really leaning in this season to the medical stuff in ways that they have before, but not quite to this level, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Which I, as a medical nerd, have really been enjoying, but it is sort of a departure. So I'm curious to see if that will continue in the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a fun debate. I don't think we landed on a good answer either way. It was mostly just blah. But we want to know what you guys think out there in the internet. So definitely weigh in. And I will quickly check our Twitter poll here. So let's see what you say, folks.
I'm curious.
Okay. Sorry, it's loading. We got to get the internet going. So most people agree with you, Andrea. We have got 83% of people saying yes and 17% saying no.
Okay. I think it is, at the very least, you need to tell somebody because he needs more supervision than he's getting on like so many levels.
And the worst part is, like, you just know for a fact that if something does go terribly wrong, Dr. Turner will never stop blaming himself.
Yeah.
Baby doctor will never stop blaming himself. Everyone's going to feel horrible.
And the practice could close down.
Right.
And they just got that incubator because they borrowed because May and Angela bought it for them as a present.
That'd be so cute if that really had happened. We actually have a comment on this very topic from David on Facebook. Hey, David.
Hey, David.
Who says, what Yvonne said to Dr. McNulty in the nursery is enough to destroy his career. And then the little emoji that's like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if he's not really looking at himself right now, then there's no hope for him, in my opinion.
And I truly hope that he is. But we're going to have to wait till next week, I think, to find out. Now, speaking of that incubator, we're going to move on to our next segment, which is, of course, In the Field with Meghan!
Yay! Meghan in the field!
Meghan, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Hi. Thank you for inviting me. This has been so much fun. It's great to be back.
Yay! Hello, we're always happy to have you back.
Yes.
So, Meghan, tonight's topic for you is, of course, the incubator, because we learned a lot about the incubators tonight. Can you tell us a little bit about the origins of incubators and where that technology comes from?
Yeah, so this whole season, we've been seeing the midwives raising money for incubators through their fashion shows and other things. So I did a little research, and the incubators go back to the late 1800s. When babies were born, when babies were born prematurely back then, mortality rate was so high and it was so expensive to care for them that there wasn't actually a lot that hospitals could do for them. So they kind of had no choice when it came to caring for babies born before their due date. But in the late 1800s, incubators were developed by a French doctor, and he actually got the idea at a zoo because he saw that the baby chicks were being cared for using heat, because a lot of times preemies can't generate their own heat, and that's one of the challenges they have. So he got this idea, he developed an incubator, and then this German doctor saw them at the World Fair, and he hatched this really amazing, brilliant, and kind of weird idea. He thought that people would actually pay to see the incubators because they were so unusual and so weird. So he actually brought them, he got incubators and he brought them to Coney Island, and he set up an exhibit where people could pay to see incubators, like preemie babies. He found a hospital with preemies. And so it was actually a hit. People loved it. And it really raised.
How do you not want to see a bunch of tiny babies? I would be like.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know. So he saved all these babies, and he showed the value of a technology like an incubator. So it was a massive hit, and it brought a lot of awareness. But it took a really long time for hospitals to actually embrace incubators because they were so expensive.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah, they must be. So that's what we know about the origins of incubators. But can you tell us a little bit about what they were like in the 60s when Call the Midwife is set?
Yeah, so fast forward to like the mid 1900s, hospitals are starting to really embrace the technology. This is where we see the development of the NICUs, which is the neonatal intensive care units. And there was a lot more effort to try to save preemies. And there was this historical event that actually had a lot to do with it. Right around the time of Our Ladies in Call the Midwife, in 1963, Jackie Kennedy, the wife of President Kennedy, gave birth to a premature baby who unfortunately died a few days later. But it did a lot to kind of shine a spotlight on the issues of preemie babies. And I read that some historians actually say that this story did for preemies what Sputnik did for the space race.
Wow.
So it brought
interesting.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's such a sad story, but sometimes when an issue like this is really at people's, at the forefront of their minds, it can bring attention to it. So ever since the 1960s, there's been a ton of amazing developments in incubator technology. Neonatology emerged as its own specialty in pediatrics, and NICUs became a lot more high tech. And they started to really look at ways that incubators can regulate oxygen, because that's often a challenge, regulate heat and humidity for the preemies, and then do a lot with, IVs, managing nutrition, improving the delivery of antibiotics, and also find a way for families to interact with the preemies too, because that's often a challenge, is that they're in an incubator and the family can't actually engage with them. So they've come a long way from the Coney Island existence at an amusement park, and thank God for it. They're so important. So
Yeah.
Well, they certainly are, and specifically, we would like you to tell your incubator story, Meghan.
Yes, I have an incubator story. Fun fact is that I'm actually a triplet, so there's 3 of me.
3 Meghans!
The most terrifying sentence ever said. No.
Actually, not identical. I don't want to mislead people in that way. So there's not 3 of me walking around, but 3 of us were born on the same day. And we were born 6 weeks early, and we were so small. Like, I weighed 3 pounds when I was born.
Tiny Meghan!
I was tiny, I know. So I had to be in an incubator. So I was in an incubator for a month after I was born, before I got home.
Yeah.
My siblings, for some reason, they got out after 3 weeks, but I was in there for a month.
Were you the smallest, perhaps?
I was the smallest, yeah.
That's probably why.
It's because you're so awesome. You just needed that extra time to bake.
And it was worth it, right? I think, I came out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you turned
we
out.
like you. You're our favorite of the triplets, so.
Oh, thank you.
By far.
By far.
I have a few photos. I think we're going to be able to pull them up.
Yeah, let's
see if we can get them up. If Eddie can give us some footage of Meghan.
Oh, there we go. Oh my god.
There we go. Okay. So this is my amazing mother holding 3 newborns. She's in the NICU there. So also happy Mother's Day.
Yes, happy Mother's Day.
Shout out to all the moms there.
Yeah.
So that was us.
That's
very
such a
soon
cute.
after we were born.
Which one is you?
I'm pretty sure
the smallest one, Jackie.
The smallest one with the hat, yeah. So not the blue hat, 'cause that's a boy, obviously. So I'm the one with the hat.
Yes.
And I think there's one more photo of me in the incubator.
Oh,
yes.
You're so little.
I'm so little, and it's newborns. We know this on the show. Like when they show a baby, like newborns look kind of like this. They don't look like the fully developed fluffy baby that you often see in the show.
We're not all perfect like Ellen's baby Aurora.
Exactly. Yeah, we have a very cute coworker baby.
I think you look adorable here, though.
Thank you. Yeah,
you still have a face, so.
It's amazing. The technology. Yeah, I know. I'm like, the technology is amazing, though. I mean, who would have? I mean, being 6 weeks early and born a triplet is a pretty amazing medical story. So I'm very thankful for incubators.
Yeah, definitely. And we are too, Meghan.
Yeah,
because that means we got you.
Yes. So thank you. Shout out to all the moms and shout out to all the doctors and midwives out there for all their work.
100%. And the neonatologists, a really cool word that I would not have thought about.
Neonatology. Yep.
We all learned something here today.
We did. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Meghan, from the field.
Yes, thank you.
And we will hopefully, we'll see you someday.
Yeah. I'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon.
Stay out of an incubator, though. Once is enough.
Have a good night, Meghan.
Bye, Meghan.
You too. Bye.
That is fascinating. I am so glad that we learned about incubators tonight.
Also the most adorable little preemie baby ever.
I know. It's very dangerous that now we have baby pictures of Meghan. That might have been a flaw on her part. Because now we have those. Now, we're going to head on to our next segment, which we are calling, What's Up With That?
We'd sing a song about it, but I think we're pretty sure that's trademarked and we don't want to get sued, so...
If Saturday Night Live did not trademark the What's Up With That song, then they have made such a huge mistake that I cannot even begin to contemplate it. So
I agree.
Let's just not even go there.
I'm personally hoping Keenan has it trademarked himself, but we'll see.
Yeah, and we want you to just imagine that he's singing, and then in the background, Jason Sudeikis is dancing in a red tracksuit.
Yeah, it'd be
during this segment.
Yeah.
So What's Up With That is a segment where we talk about a moment on the show and just speculate wildly about what we think they're getting at with what's going on. Yes. And tonight's What's Up With That is, of course, Val's grandmother. Something's going on with her. What's up with that?
100% something's going on with her. I will tell you what's up with that, at least from my perspective, I think she has throat cancer. And we're not going to find out. I know, that's a lot. I'm sorry. But when my dad had throat cancer, which like, he is 5 years healed from?
Yes.
I kind of wanted to say 5 years clean going in the theme of this episode, but nope.
Let's not go with that. No.
Let's not go with that. But when he had throat cancer, one of the biggest issues was if he ate something that wasn't liquidy in nature, he would start to choke on it right away. And that's, I think, what we saw here with her eating those cupcakes, because Val seems like a good cook, or excuse me, fairy cakes. And
I'm sorry,
most
call them
fairy
by their name.
cakes, most fairy cakes are pretty moist and have a lot of frosting on them. And I don't think Val's bringing her grandmother like rock hard fairy cakes that are super dry in jail. So I'm going to guess that, because I think she's probably having a hard time producing saliva.
Well,
boom.
I like your theory. I mean, I don't like your theory. That's
no, I don't like it either. But
I have a different theory, which is that I think the Gran has a horrible mouth abscess.
Ugh, I like that less.
I know, it's pretty disgusting.
Wait, no. I like that more, but also less? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about any of this.
Both options are disgusting and painful and possibly fatal. But the reason
terrible.
and terrible. And Gran is, despite all of her, morally gray stuff, it's Gran. We like Gran.
I know. And I mean, in Gran's defense, she was giving abortions because people needed them and wanted them.
Right.
She was just doing a really bad job.
It's not the fault of the people trying to fix a problem if the system won't fix the problem.
Yes. She was a victim of the system.
Yes.
And so same thing with her going to prison and getting a mouth abscess / throat cancer.
Yeah, and the reason that I think she has a mouth abscess, by the way, is that I didn't read it as much as that she was like choking, as much as that she like took a bite, and when she went and took a big bite, she was like, oh, and that looked like dental pain to me.
I get it. Okay.
You know what? Friends out there in the internet, we are merely viewers on a couch. We are merely speculating. We don't know. We actually have not watched ahead, so we literally do not know.
Yeah.
And that's our promise to you.
If you guys have a speculation, tell us, please. Speculate wildly with us.
Yes.
That's the fun of these shows, right?
Right. Let's all just guess.
Yeah. We just like to guess and speculate, and that's what we think it is. And we had to talk about it because we love Val.
Yes.
We love her grandmother, as we just said. And this was one of the things that didn't get wrapped up in this episode that we're honestly very concerned about and need to know what's going on.
Right. So, and everybody's upset about it. Like, everyone's getting slowly looped into what's going on with Gran. Yes. So I need to know. And if they don't answer it next episode, I'm going to be pretty put out, I will tell you.
Yeah, because that's the finale. Oh, God. No. I know. They have to answer it. I'm done.
The finale is going to be rough. I'm very worried for next week, fam, and I hope that we all have tissues ready for what's about to happen, because I feel like it's going to get rough.
Well, I feel like we have a lot of loose ends that have been like sort of wrapped up, like May's mom, Val's gran, Cyril and Lucille. They're back together, but baby doctor, sister,
baby doctor, baby doctor's pethidine addiction. What's happening? There's a lot. There's a lot.
Why Tim was home for school for that 1 week.
Who knows? Well, this has been What's Up With That. Please tell us what you think is up with that. We want to know.
Let us know if you want us to speculate wildly more in the future. We're really good at it.
Yeah, we're really great at coming up with really weird, crazy, but somewhat plausible solutions. There it is.
That's us.
And now, speaking of weird and crazy, but lovable, that's not a great transition, because they're not weird or crazy, and we love them. We're going to go on to our next segment, Most Valuable Midwife!
Yay!
Yay! My favorite segment every week these days, because they're all so great, and we love them.
Each week, it's really difficult, and we argue about who we're going to choose and who gets to choose who.
Yes, every time. It's very tough. Yeah. I honestly, like, at one point we were talking about doing a ranking of the midwives, and then we couldn't do it because it would be too horrible.
We got too upset trying to rank Lucille, Trixie, Phyllis, and now that we know them better, Frances,
Val, Hilda.
Oh, no. I can't. I won't.
It's horrible. It's like choosing a favorite child. You can never admit to choosing one. You have to always pretend. only children, Andrea and I know about this so well.
I'm my mummy's favorite child,
Me
and
too.
you were too. So,
anyway, let's pick our favorite children for this week. I'm happy to go first if you're all right with that.
Please tell me who you were favorited.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and agree with our friend on Twitter from earlier and give Trixie a special shout out this week.
Okay.
Because her work with Marion was really delightful to watch. Not only from the standpoint of just like, she's doing her normal everyday Trixie stuff of like taking care of her patient and being really caring and awesome and motivated and hardworking. But at the same time, she is really gracious about learning, which I really appreciated. So like, like in that first interaction she has with Marion, she realizes quite quickly that if she makes it clear that she's overreaching or trying to treat Marion different, that is going to be a problem for Marion, which is very understandable. And she quickly stops that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the things that I think we found in this day and age is one of the best ways to get around bias and inherent bias and subconscious bias is to learn. And I think that's something that we try to do all the time when we're trying to learn more about, you know, the diversity that we're coming in contact with today. And I think, you know, in her case, coming in contact with a blind person isn't that common, which is kind of strange after World War II, but hey.
Right.
But I guess blind men are probably much more common. But I think her being like, okay, let's talk about this. Let me learn about this. Let me see what I can do is really great. And I have to say, I was really impressed with her standing up to Beryl too.
Oh my gosh, yes. When Beryl like barrels into the apartment, she does such a great job of being like, look, you need to back off. You're upsetting her and you're upsetting the kid. And one of the things that I thought was really great is that Trixie is 100% in Marion's corner, and Marion knows that. But she also knows when she has to get help, and she's willing to help Marion discover that for herself. So it's like, you know, you are great and I trust you and I know you're a great mom, but like, it's not wrong to need assistance and we can provide it for you. So just take the help.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think one of the things that's really hard, one of the things I've heard from people, I should say that and qualify it so people don't think I'm speaking from the experience I don't have. One of the things that I've heard is really difficult when you're a new mom, especially with your first time kid, is to admit that you're not sure and admit that you don't know, because there's so much mythos around like, oh, you'll know as soon as you pick them up. Like, again, the Dr. Spock thing of trust yourself. Yes, trust yourself, but don't be afraid to ask for help. Right?
100%. I think that makes complete sense.
But I have to say, I'm just going to put it out there that even though Trixie was amazing, and clearly I agree with you, Frances, this episode was the Frances episode.
Yes.
Girl got it. Girl saved Yvonne's labor. Girl was there for Yvonne. She helped Yvonne get away from that monster of a husband, got in touch with her aunt, found her a new place to live, made sure she and the baby were healthy. I mean, disciplined her friend when they were being a terrible human being. She owned this episode. She owned the situation she was in. It was a terrible situation, but she went in there and she kicked the door down, which is not in her nature. So that means it was super difficult for her to do. And she was like, look, this is bad. We need to change this. And I was so impressed with her because she's such a sweetheart. She's so timid that seeing her be like, this is wrong and I need to fix it was really, really impressed me with her character this season.
I completely agree with you, actually. And this is one of the first episodes where I saw Sister Frances and really sort of changed my mind on her. Like, I think when we first meet her, I thought that she was sort of boring and timid and wouldn't have the chutzpah to stand up for herself like she did in this episode. And it wasn't even just standing up for herself, it was standing up for someone else. But I really, I think I tend to think of her as very young and inexperienced and naive. And she is young, but she certainly did not come across naive in this episode. Like, she had some, when Yvonne's horrible drunk husband showed up and she was like, oh, is he drunk? That was really,
Yeah.
That was cute and a little naive, but like she went from that to like, I'm sorry, best friend, you need to get your house in order in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, Frances. What a glow up.
Get it. She's fantastic, and I cannot wait to see more of very sweet but ready to fight Frances.
Yes, that's the prize fighter I'm here for. That's my $1 million baby.
Yes, exactly. $1 million baby nun. It's just a Frances story coming to a theater near you.
I'd watch it. I bet you'd be a great prize fighter. Well, I think we both have good most valuable midwives tonight. I feel good about our choices.
I'm curious if anybody out there in internet land voted for any in the comments.
Well, let's take a little gander and see if there's any comments to have. All right. What have you got for us, Zach? So this is not actually a most valuable midwife, but this is a great tweet from @Sylvanar SCJ. I don't know. I did my best, guys, on Twitter, who's replying to a tweet asking your last 3 actions, which would become your COVID-19 slogan. And hers are take in the washing, pour a drink, watch Call the Midwife, which honestly, yeah, mood.
Yeah. Big mood.
So that's a great one. We also have a really lovely tweet from @TreasuresByBren, who says, "Happy Mother's Day! Who better to celebrate with than a few of the midwives, babes in arms from PBS's brilliant drama Call the Midwife. This mother loves the show and dreads the day the last episode airs." I completely love that tweet. And
good news, boss. We have 2 more seasons coming at you at least.
Yeah, get excited. Oh, we have a great comment from David over on Facebook, who's commenting a bunch tonight. Thank you, David. And says, "The loyalty to someone who hasn't been born yet is powerful."
Whoa. Dang, David. I mean,
dropping some knowledge, sir.
Whew. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that got me.
That shook me, man. Okay, that's great.
I'm think about things and priorities and values now.
You know what? I'm gonna call that the comment of the day, because that really just stopped us in our tracks.
Yeah, for real.
But I think we will continue our tradition of reading the closing monologue here.
Yes, I like it.
Which is always, of course, tweeted by @KathyGinter on Twitter. Sometimes there are no prizes. A reward comes as a smile, a touch, a dawning sense that all will be well, that the future is opening its arms. So we take courage, or it's given in a squeeze on the hand or a pat on the back, and the words, "I believe in you." You know what, audience? We believe in you. So you can make it through one more week of this. You got this.
Yes. I believe in you, Jackie.
I believe in you, Andrea.
Oh my God. Aw, buddy. On that note, it has been another great week of Drama After Dark. Another great week of Call the Midwife. We're super excited to see you guys back here next week for the final episode of season 9. It's going to be great. And we'll see you guys here. Same bat time, same bat channel. That's probably copyright too. But you know what? Let's get crazy.
Why not, right?
Have a great week, everybody. And remember to wash your hands. Bye.
Bye.